Recording is in progress, so let's start this. I'm going to call the Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality Management District meeting to order on March 24th, 2022 at 9:02 a.m. If the clerk could please call the roll to establish a quorum.
Yes. Director Aquino?
Here.
Director Daniels?
Here.
Director Desmond?
Here.
Director Frost?
Here.
Director Guerra?
Here.
Director Harris?
Here.
Director Kennedy?
Here.
Director Laloe? I have two people coming in. Let me just see if one of them is. Okay. Director Natoli? Director Vandenberg?
Here.
Director Cerna? Director Singh Allen?
Here.
Director Terry?
Here.
Director Vang?
Here.
Okay, we have quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. If everyone could please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Madam Clerk, if you could please read the announcements.
Yes. In compliance with directives of the State and Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the physical location of this meeting is closed to the public, consistent with state and local officials' recommendations to promote social distancing and Assembly Bill 361. Members of the public are encouraged to participate in the meeting by observing the meeting in real time at metro14live.saccounty.gov, Zoom video conference line, and by submitting written comments electronically by email at boardclerk@airquality.org. Comments submitted in person will be delivered to the Board of Directors by staff. Public comments regarding matters under the jurisdiction of the Board of Directors will be acknowledged by the chairperson and accepted until the adjournment of the meeting, distributed to the Board of Directors and included in the record. This meeting of the Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality Management District is cablecast live without interruption on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T Uverse cable system. This meeting is being closed captioned and we webcast at metro14live.saccounty.gov. Today's meeting will be repeated on Tuesday, March 29th, 2022 at 3 p.m. on Channel 14.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Appreciate that. Before we move on to the consent calendar, I always wanted to start off by saying go to sparetheair.com and look at our air quality index. Today we're at 53, just teetering over good. Yesterday we had a good day of 44. Sunday looks like we might have a good day, but you can always go to sparetheair.com or over to airquality.org, which is our air quality management district meeting. With that, Madam Clerk, let's move on to the first item on our agenda here.
The first item is the consent calendar. Item number 1, Assembly Bill 361 compliance, remote meetings during declared emergency. Item number 2, February 24th, 2022, Board of Director meeting minutes.
Great. Let me, Madam Clerk, anybody from the public signed up to speak?
No, not at this time.
Okay, let me bring this back to the board. Members of the board, any questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move consent.
Second, Terry.
It's been properly moved by Board Member Harris and properly seconded by Board Member Terry. Any further discussion? Seeing none from the board, let me ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Director Aquino?
Aye.
Director Daniels?
Aye.
Director Desmond?
Aye.
Director Frost?
Aye.
Chair Guerra?
Aye.
And Director Harris?
Aye.
Vice Chair Kennedy?
Aye.
Director Laloe? And Director Natoli? Director Vandenberg?
Aye.
Director Cerna? Director Singh Allen?
Yes.
Director Terry?
Aye.
Director Vang?
Yes.
Consent passes.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. We'll go on to our next item here.
The next item is the Air Pollution Control Officer report, and Alberto Ayala is on the line to give the presentation. Give me 1 second and I'll pull it up.
Thank you. Good morning, board members. It's good to see you all. Happy Thursday. It's almost the weekend, so we're almost there. I have today just a bunch of reports about some events that are coming up, and I want to both remind you and obviously invite you to participate as well. So next slide, please, Madam Clerk. So the first one is actually one that already took place, and at the conclusion of my report, I will invite Director Vang and Chair Guerra, who were also at the event, to offer their perspective if they wish. But you've heard us talk about the California Mobility Center. This is a very important new initiative in the region, and we as an air agency are trying to support it as much as we can. Why is that? Because the focus of the CMC on zero emission technology, zero emission innovation and mobility is at the crux of what we want to do as an air agency, right? Because we want to zero out air pollution. And we bring to the CMC conversation the connection to policy at the local level, policy at the state level, policy at the national level, for that matter. So we were happy to participate last week. It was a great event, and like I said, I'm very pleased that Director Vang was able to be there. Director Serna was there, and our Chair Guerra also did one of the welcomes. So just wanted to acknowledge that. Next slide, please. So the next couple of events are events that are coming up. So please, you've already gotten a message from the clerk. So hopefully those of you that are going to be able to attend, it's already on your calendars. And if it isn't, and if this is something that is of interest to you, please do come and join us. Obviously, it is related to air quality and the agency, and that's the reason I'm including it here. The next one is coming up quickly next week. On the 30th, many of you are already RSVP to join us at this great site that is going to be the future home of our very first electric mobility hub, the e-mobility hub up in Del Paso. And bring your work boots. So be prepared to go in the dirt and get ready, get dirty. The reason we want to take you out there is because we want you to have a sense of what it looks like and the transformation that we're after. And clearly, the main driving force is zero emission mobility coming to one of our most underserved communities. But beyond that, we do think that these mobility hubs are one way to tackle the lack of adequate transportation that many communities in our region and throughout the state have. And the hubs are something that we're really narrowing in on being a part of the solution. We've identified about 50 within the county or within the city, and then we've identified about 50 hubs are needed within our district, 25 within the city, and then outside of the city. And so more information to come. And again, very informal. There's going to be plenty of us there. We want to engage in a one-on-one conversation to discuss. And I also want to let you know that when our state elected officials found out that we were going to have you guys come out, then they expressed interest in coming out. So we are expecting a couple of our assembly members and senators to come out, and it'll be hopefully a good conversation. Next slide, please. So the next event that I want to also make you all aware of is coming up in Folsom. And thank you, Director Aquino. We've been working with you and the city staff. We're going to have you come out and participate in this open house. It's a brand new flagship monitoring station that we just finished, and it's up and running in Folsom. And, I can't think of a more fundamental and important function of an air agency than the responsibility that the federal government has put on us to monitor air pollution. And we cannot do that monitoring if we don't update and keep up with the current technology in terms of the instrumentation and the methods for looking at air pollution. So Folsom is the most recent station that we've updated. And it's interesting because I appreciate Folsom citizens who are, the residents there are very keen on having their air quality data. And, when we took the station down, we used to hear Folsom residents ask us, what happened to the station? How come I'm not getting data in these regions? We love that, and hopefully some of those interested residents will be able to come out. Again, just very informal. The station, again, is not a very big site, but we do want to make it a point to reflect on the importance of monitoring air quality in throughout our region. Next slide, please. So the next event that we are participating in as well as sponsors is coming up in June. This was supposed to have taken place last month, but because of the variant and COVID, it was postponed, and it's meant to be in person. And this is a conversation with the leadership at the state level on the future of hydrogen. You have heard us talk about the importance of zero emissions. You know that when we talk about zero emission vehicles, they come in two flavors, right? So there's the batteries and also the fuel cells. And for that, we need renewable hydrogen for that. So I'm looking forward to this. I get to do the welcome for all the delegates that will show up. Hopefully we'll have a strong participation from folks at the Capitol, and you're all invited to join us in this conversation about, how do we scale up and accelerate deployment of this very viable zero emission solution. Next slide, please. And the last thing I want to cover for you is just an update. At the last meeting, Director Aquino asked a really good question in terms of what is the process for our agency to engage in the legislative process. And I wanted to revisit the topic because we are currently in the middle of that. And when I say we really are engaging as a part of the California Air Pollution Control Officers Association, CAPCOA. Right, so that is the principal venue by which we, as one of 35 air districts in California, really dive deep into the legislative proposals. At the moment, we are looking, as you know, the bill introduction occurred at the beginning of this month. We're looking at 29 key air quality related bills. And obviously, I'm not going to get into detail of all those 29, but suffice it to say, anything and everything that has air quality a connection, CAPCOA has a legislative advocate that tracks the legislation. And as you know, we have our own lobbyist that is also working in the process. So there's everything and anything that you can imagine. The biggest thing is we are up for reauthorization of our incentive monies. And this is really critical because, as you know, this is how we're able to develop cleaner projects for our region. There's some specific bills that are having to do with hydrogen, carbon capture, which is also really important for meeting our climate goals. And then in general, there's another set of legislation that has been introduced related to climate. So again, it is not often that we would actually support or advance our own legislative issue. And so again, most of what we do is through and with CAPCOA. But obviously in the event that there's anything that is specific to the Sacramento Metro Air Quality Management District, we would obviously bring that back to you for direction. So I think that is the last slide. Selena, is there anything more? Okay. This concludes my report. So again, I don't know if Chaguera or Director Van, you guys want to offer some reflections on the CMC event last week. Thank you.
Well, first I'll say definitely it was an amazing event where you had a number of industries, large manufacturers, one of our largest manufacturers in the region, Siemens, who is also has located right adjacent to the mobility center. So now you have just the sheer number of folks who are in this space, manufacturing, and the supply chain associated with it is the impressive part. How many different ancillary businesses are involved in it? So I think one of the key things there is that clearly, from the air district standpoint, the improvements to air quality and is great, but the improvements to the region, these employers that are coming in here, developers are looking at where they want to locate. They're looking at places not just in Sacramento, but in Rancho and Lincoln and Elk Grove. They're looking for places to be able to expand and be the manufacturers for that technology. So I think it was a great event. So, I see a couple hands up here. Let me go to Councilmember Vang, then and then Mayor Terry. Councilmember
Thanks,
Vang.
Chair. Thanks, Chair Guerra. Yeah, first of all, Dr. Ayala, thank you so much for your presentation. It was, and just to my colleague, it was really great to attend the California Mobility Center Showcase. Chair Guerra mentioned, lots of businesses in the industry, but I also want to take this moment to actually uplift Dr. Ayala. He was actually the keynote speaker this year, and he really shared our collective work as an air district and just the vision for the region. And so I want to take this moment, we are the one directing Dr. Ayala, and he was the keynote speaker, and he did an amazing job. And if you were all there, you would all have been very, very proud. So just want to take this moment to also just center him and thank him for his great work. But for me, at the end of the day, when I was touring and looking at all the really cool tech, CMC will be truly the center of green and clean industry for this region. And the most important thing for me is that it's really about creating opportunities for our young people in the region to excel in the sector. That's one reason why I think this is so key and so important, and really looking forward to all the opportunities that will come to our young people, as this is going to be the central the central center for green and clean industry. And so really excited about that. And Dr. Ayala, just thank you so much for your great work that you're doing, and great job on the keynote.
Let me bring this over to Mayor Terry.
Yeah, I was just I was at a conference a couple weeks ago, and there was a lot of talk around hydrogen. And I'll be honest with you, I think 20 years ago, I felt like I knew more about what they were trying to do with it than today. And it was actually a large oil company that was really pushing that was where they were going in the future. I'd be really interested to see if we could have a presentation to understand more, not only of the utilization of that technology and that commodity, but also what does it take to get it out of the ground and to actually use it? And is it actually a carbon friendly or carbon neutral or carbon capturing technology? So just personally, I know I'm going to be Googling it right after that, because this reminded me of the stuff that I saw a couple weeks ago. But I'd be really interested to see if we could do a little bit more. I know the couple of years that I worked in the Capitol, a long time ago, some of the first hydrogen fuel cell cars were parked out at the Capitol, and they were asking questions. But it seemed like people had moved on from that since then, and it's just kind of strange in the last few weeks that this is now the second or third time that I've heard somebody talk about it as an alternative to EV. So,
well, thank you, Board Member Terry, and we do actually have an item at the as part of our report out on hydrogen, and the Air District is involved in a very significantly large hydrogen project. So, if I could ask Dr. Yell, maybe if we could leave that for the item later on, and then and move on with the agenda.
Yep.
Thank you. Board Member Harris.
Yeah. Chair, if we're going to talk about hydrogen and fuel cells later, I'll wait.
Yeah, it is part of one of, I believe it's item 4 on our agenda here.
Very good.
Yeah. Very good. Other questions for the Air Pollution Control Officer here? Board Member Terry, is that your previous hand or current hand?
Yeah, it is, sir.
Yeah. Okay. If there are no other questions, then Madam Clerk, let's move on to our next item.
The next item on the discussion calendar, item number 3, zero emission vehicle charging and hydrogen fueling infrastructure in our region. And I have Jaime Lemos on the line to give the presentation.
Good morning, Chair Guerra and members of the board. Very timely, Director Terry and Director Harris. A lot of action in the hydrogen sector. I'm thinking now I maybe should have skewed my presentation to maybe focus a little more on hydrogen, but we do have some really great advancements as well in the battery electric sector as well. So as our board clerk announced, I'll be presenting today on zero emission vehicle charging and hydrogen fueling infrastructure in our region. And so we'll be taking a look at some of the very exciting infrastructure projects that we're currently working on. And so to be clear, we are looking at two types of fueling infrastructure projects: battery electric projects, which require electric charging stations like a kiosk or a charging plaza, and hydrogen projects, which require a hydrogen fueling station similar to a CNG fueling facility or even a gasoline fueling facility. Next slide, please. So we need to look at both hydrogen and electric infrastructure because our transportation pollution here in Sacramento is a major issue, and it's just not getting any better. So many of you know that the transportation sector is the largest polluting sector here in California. And so deploying infrastructure projects in our region is absolutely essential as the tractor trailer and goods movement sector are also transitioning to zero emission. And so this transition is moving in the right direction. It has momentum, but it's a little slow. So CARB estimates that 75,000 heavy duty trucks are sold each year. And so these are combustion trucks. So the heavy duty makeup of these, of the pollution here within this sector is about 24 to 30% of this 41 transportation sector pollution. So if you look at the below diagram there, 41% of the pollution is transportation related. And so 24 to 30% make up that 41% there, which is just solely heavy duty tractors. So cutting NOx and PM emissions from trucking is vital for improving health and meeting the federal national ambient air quality standards. And according to CARB, many of these communities, which are predominantly communities of color and low-income communities, see upwards of 1,000 diesel trucks passing through in the community per hour. So we have to do something about that. Next slide, please. So there's still hope and there's lots of opportunity. So as I shared in the last month's presentation, there is a lot of funding and our region is aligned and we have many tools in place to go after the funding for both hydrogen fueling infrastructure and EV charging. The federal and state government, as I mentioned last month, have about $4.8 billion for just infrastructure and zero emission heavy duty projects. That alone for the region and for many of our partners, we are aligned and we are ready and we have constant conversations on how we're going to take advantage of that. So there's a lot of funding opportunity for our region, but we're not waiting. So we are currently funding these projects right now, and we're trying to deploy them in our region. So just last year in 2021, we put out a community air grant solicitation, and we received over $35 million in applications. And out of that, we were able to move forward with about $18 million worth of projects. This year, we're looking at funding another $15 million of last year's applications. So that's over $30 million in both medium, heavy duty, zero emission vehicles and infrastructure here in our region. Next slide, please. And here's one of the projects that we're very excited about. Speaking about hydrogen, in 2021, the California Energy Commission awarded Sierra Northern Railway $4 million to build and test a hydrogen fueled cell locomotive switcher at the Port of West Sacramento. And so Sierra Northern will retrofit an existing diesel combustion switcher and drop in a fuel cell power kit that has the capability to replace other existing diesel engines. So we're creating a hydrogen fuel cell kit that can be swappable into existing locomotive switchers. So also in 2021, Shell Products received a $4 million grant also from the CEC to install a multimodal hydrogen station with the capacity to fuel the hydrogen locomotive, medium and heavy duty vehicles, and passenger vehicles. And so because this project is in the Port of West Sacramento, there's a lot of opportunity there with marine vessels, tractor trailers along the I-80, and also marine port type of equipment like forklifts. And of course, we also have our goods movement corridor, which we have a lot of tractor trailer traffic through. In the north area, we have McClellan Park, which will also be receiving an air district grant to deploy hydrogen fueling stations for light duty and medium duty vehicles. And there's much more opportunity there in McClellan that we're also pursuing, but I can't just talk about that just yet. Within the last few months, as we mentioned, hydrogen has been really gaining traction here in California. In the last couple of weeks, we even spoke to Senator Barbara Archuleta's representatives, who's the chair of the California Senate Select Committee on Hydrogen Energy, and we shared our hydrogen efforts as well as providing testimony for tomorrow's committee meeting. And so that testimony will highlight a lot of our hydrogen projects. On April 6th, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the state capitol, the hydrogen organizations will be hosting the Hydrogen Village event, which will be an educational and public display of hydrogen and fuel cell technology. So we can also send out an invitation to all of you for that as well. And then finally, as our director mentioned in the APC report, on June 6th and 7th, the California Hydrogen Leadership Summit will also take place here in Sacramento. So a lot of movement on hydrogen, and I expect there'll be a lot of questions on that. Next slide, please. So now on the EV side, so since our last board meeting, the Air District has partnered with Watt EV, a private company that will offer both a network of public charging stations and zero-emission heavy-duty trucks. And so this proposed project site is located south of the Sacramento International Airport and will consist of heavy-duty electric truck public charging plaza with multiple charging stations, a full service station, and a convenience store. And so Watt EV is a private venture that brings both the electric vehicle charging infrastructure and the heavy-duty vehicles as part of a service package for fleets. And so Watt EV just recently partnered with Volvo to deploy 50 Volvo electric VNR all-electric tractor trailers for their EV charging plazas. And our director and I had an opportunity to drive those a few years back. And so just like a tractor trailer, there's not a lot of difference. So many of the operators will find this to be just the same as what they're currently driving now. And so these trucks right now will be operating along the San Joaquin Valley, the Inland Empire, and the ports of Long Beach and LA. But we're excited to bring this project here and hoping to break ground next year in 2023 and bring some of those trucks up to Sacramento. And so here's another important factor that I want to mention on this project, is now we have the private sector really driving these efforts. And so that is one of the things that's really exciting. We have the private sector driving both the battery electric and the hydrogen as well. Next slide, please. And so speaking of our private sector and private sector partners driving infrastructure efforts, here we have again, we are still engaged with GLD partners and the Fresno Council of Governments on the California Inland Project. And so the Inland Project is a location for many warehouses and distribution centers with lots of truck traffic. And so this is a goods movement rail project within the inland port of California with lots of opportunity to reduce heavy-duty truck pollution along the highway corridors. And this is an ongoing development that we're closely monitoring, so there will be more on this in the near future. Next slide, please. So let's review some of the highlights today. Lots of heavy-duty trucks, and so the truck traffic here, or I'm sorry, the heavy-duty trucks are required to be electrified by 2045. That's part of the governor's mandate here in California. Not only are the four agencies ready for this transition, we're working with many partners to take advantage of the funding opportunities, and so we're really ready. The federal and state governments have $4.8 million for infrastructure and zero-emission heavy-duty projects. And we, the Sac Metro District, is also currently funding projects. And so we also have funding to continue this movement. And so all this to say that there's a lot of opportunity to clean up our medium and heavy duty transportation sector here in the region, and we are ready. Well, thank you. That concludes my report.
Mr. Chair, we're ready for you.
There we go. Sorry, I was on mute there. Thank you. Let me bring over here to Board Member Harris. And well, first, Madam Clerk, do we have any members of the public signed up to speak?
No, we do not.
Okay, let me bring this over to Board Member Harris, and then I'll go to Board Member Vandenberg.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So, Jaime, that was a great presentation. Really exciting stuff. And I really appreciate all the information, but there's a hole in the report, and it has to do with aviation. I've talked about this many times, but what I would like to see in a report like this is what percentage of the pollution our general and commercial fleets add to, the air quality burden, not only in our area, but across the country. So I have seen various figures about what our commercial fleet add to the CO2 production worldwide. It's very significant. There are a lot of advancements in both hydrogen and electric augmentation to aircraft. And I think that that has to be included in our conversation. So that's an ask of both you and Dr. Ayala that we include this in the conversation. So those of you who have been on the board for at least 2 or 3 years might remember a presentation by Joseph Oldham, who came to our board, I think 2 years ago. He was a pioneer in bringing all electric aircraft to America. And I recently spent a day with Joseph and flew those aircraft solely powered by an electric motor. It was pretty exciting to do that. And, I've said this several times, but there is going to be a revolution in air travel, and it's going to be powered by electricity mostly. But in the commercial fleet, they're looking and spending a tremendous amount of money, billions of dollars of research into hydrogen augmentation to possibly fuel a commercial fleet. And then electric as well. Like, for instance, just at Sac International Airport, all the ground movements of aircraft could be controlled by motors instead of burning Jet A, which would reduce pollution, a lot of people feel, about 10%, because a lot of fuel is burned on the ground in commercial aircraft. It's a really significant sector. And, I'm happy to collaborate with you. I've done a fair amount of research on this on my own. And as you know, and Jaime, this is a question for you. So we're getting electric charging infrastructure and now hydrogen infrastructure at McClellan. And now we've got Watt right by Sac International Airport. So, it's closing in on the aviation sector, even as we speak. But I am very keen on trying to move forward to bring charging infrastructure to local airports, specifically Mather and Executive and McClellan. And if there's $4.5 billion available for projects like this, I would like to work with you guys, ask you how to move this forward. I've been talking to Arlen Orchard of the CMC, and he's pretty keen on this as well, and Paul Lau at SMUD. So I need your help to move this idea forward. So hopefully you can contact me and we can talk this out offline. But if, please, in the future, consider the aviation sector. Air travel, because of drones, is going to become more and more significant. As you know, Joby has a 5-person drone that already is capable of moving people from San Francisco to Sacramento and back on one charge. So things are moving quickly. I expect it to be commercially viable. Some, estimates right now are around 2025 to 2026, it could be very revolutionary in the mobility sector. So I'll quit talking, but if we could advance this conversation, Dr. Ayala, I'd be very appreciative.
Thank you, Board Member Harris. And yes, I was supposed to also meet with Joe in January, and then we had that Omicron surge. So I do also need to follow back up with Joseph on that, and the fact that they're so already doing it at Mather, close to the CMC, about a couple miles away. It just makes clear sense. Plus, there are many manufacturers over there, and our carbon fiber manufacturers that are there. All the pieces are there. So good point, Board Member Harris and Dr. Ayala and Mr. Lemos. Can we make sure that we put that as part of our next component? Because I know particularly for those at Magnum Park, those at by Executive Airport, the lead issue and that has resulted because of that has been a critical health impact in the South Sacramento community. So good point, Board Member Harris. Board Member Vandenberg.
Thank you. It's been a few years. I've worked in the industrial industry for the past 30 years. I really like what I've heard just now. And I would like to touch bases a little bit on the difference between electric and hydrogen. Electric obviously requires battery, which not requires, but there's a lot of strip mining that is used in different parts of the world to provide the components and minerals and stuff necessary. Could you please refresh my memory on hydrogen? Because I believe you can separate water, produce hydrogen, burn it, and create water, if my memory serves. So long term, that seems like a cleaner, more environmentally friendly item. Thank you.
Yeah, board member. Director Ayala. Dr. Ayala. And then maybe I know we've been in brief discussions also on unique ideas such as our landfills and the regional sanitation district as potential other locations where we could extract hydrogen.
Yeah, no, thank you, Chair and Director Vandenberg. Thank you for the question. Maybe the way I'll start off, and I'll keep it brief because we'd be more than happy to bring back a presentation either offline for you on the specifics of hydrogen, or we can do a board presentation as well. But I guess the one thing that I want to clarify for you all, hydrogen fuel cells vehicles are also electric vehicles. So what I want you to walk away with is electric vehicles come in two flavors. One is the flavor that has the energy stored in a battery. The other one is the flavor that has the energy stored as a gas in hydrogen. And that hydrogen then powers a fuel cell whose byproduct is only water. And that's the reason we want it. And it's an amazing technology. The reason we want to be, and this is my proposal to you as a board, as an agency, we need to be agnostic when it comes to the technology choice, because honestly, our crystal ball is no better than anybody else's. We really don't know what the final solution is going to be. As Mr. Lemos alluded to, when you think about large vehicles, so medium duty, heavy duty, the big trucks, batteries may not necessarily be the best solution. On the car side, no question, we got the solution. When you start to get bigger, and that's the reason the locomotive project is so exciting, it does seem like the fuel cell may be a better solution. So again, I just want to sort of balance the conversation that, this is not about picking winners or losers at all. In fact, we should never think about this as one versus the other. We need all solutions. So I'll leave it there, Mr. Chair. And like I said, I'd be happy to come back to Director Vandenberg with more specifics on the fuel cells.
That's good. And actually, maybe we can do the just a refresher on a lot of these. And let me bring this over. I see Board Member Harris's hand up here.
Yeah,
because it would be. I remember my class, my engineering 101 in 1996, and it could take you a whole course for that. But yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'll keep it short. Director Terry and I attended the Yosemite Policymakers Conference this last weekend, and there was a presentation by Bloom Energy, who are working on fuel cells, and they gave a pretty substantial presentation on fuel cells in terms of generating commercial electricity. Yeah, the fact of the matter is that the energy density of hydrogen far exceeds battery capacity. So where weight is a factor as an aircraft, it can be a tremendous power source. So I thank you, Dr. Ayala, for delineating the different energy sources. But yeah, they're electric vehicles. There is really, it's very exciting what's coming forward. And so I actually have a meeting with Bloom Energy to talk about the possibility of fuel cells in aviation. Just wanted to make you aware of that.
Chair Guerra, may I just say one more thing?
Yes.
So Director Harris, of course, we never forget your efforts in aviation, and just to share with you, even just yesterday, I was speaking with United Airlines, and they were sharing their thoughts on hydrogen and the Boeing. But we are in constant conversations about hydrogen in aviation, specifically Sacramento International and the smaller airports. So that's an effort that is still ongoing and not forgotten. So just to also share with you, and happy to connect with you on those efforts as well.
Thank you. I look forward to the conversation, Jaime.
Great, thank you. I want to do a quick time check for our board here. It's 9:41. We do have two other presentations on the programs we're doing so that everyone can take advantage in our region. So let me bring this back to the clerk, Madam Clerk. Oh, let me see, hold on. Madam Clerk, are there members of the public wishing to comment on this item?
No, not at this time.
Are there any members of the board wishing to comment on this item? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, let's move on to our next item on the agenda.
The next item, item number 4, Lawn and Garden Program Update, and I have Rafe Porter on the line to give a presentation.
Good morning, Chair Guetta, members of the board. Rafe Porter, I'm the program manager for the Transportation and Climate Change Division here at the district. This item is receive and file, so there's no action required today. And the purpose of this item is just to provide you an update on the various lawn and garden activities at the district, and then for us to receive any input that the board may have on these programs. So if you could move to the next slide, please. The activities that have recently happened and the work that staff is conducting right now for future programs doesn't act in a bubble. There's lots of things and many people that are considering these types of programs and pushing for various changes. In 2020, the city of Sacramento adopted the outcomes of the Mayor's Climate Commission, which included a transition to zero emission lawn and garden equipment to help curb emissions. SMUD, which I'll talk a little bit on the next slide, is considered lawn and garden programs to help meet their carbon zero goals by 2030. The governor has an executive order banning the sale of gas-powered lawnmowers by 2024, which has led CARB to consider changes to their small off-road engine or SOAR program. There's also a lot of community interest with groups like Mow Better that are pushing for a lot of these changes, and we're working with groups like that. There's also interest from public agencies like schools that we can help fund through our community air resource funds. And in fact, we recently in our last solicitation provided funds to Southgate Parks and Recreation for a zero emission lawn and garden equipment program that they're launching. Next slide, please. All of this interest leads or led us in the past to conduct a pilot lawnmower program with SMUD. You may recall that we ran a 3-month program to swap out old gas-powered lawnmowers with new zero-emission mowers. While we've done these types of programs in the past, this one was a little bit different. In the past, it was a single event. This one was one that we worked with a particular retailer and a particular on-site recycler to conduct that program. And if you can move to the next slide, please. Through this program, we offered a $145 rebate for residential residents that wanted to take advantage of this program. SMUD also provided an additional $100 for any participants that were income qualified rate payers or part of their EPR program. Through this program, we offered provided 155 lawnmower replacements, with 41 of them being part of the SMUD EPR program. And then we are in the discussion phase with SMUD to look at the pros and cons from this pilot program and explore any possible future programs. Next slide, please. As I previously mentioned, the state is also looking at this and they're expanding into these types of programs. Each year, there are excess funds left over in the Moyer incentive programs. This year, CARB is making those funds available for the small off-road or that SOAR program. And the district is pursuing some funds through this program to explore lawn and garden a little bit further. These funds, along with these funds, CARB is also exploring guideline changes to Chapter 9 of the Moyer guidelines. And this is the specific chapter that deals with small off-road engine incentives. The district staff is working with CAPCOA and CARB to make sure that these guidelines fit within what we need and all the other districts need in their programs, and that we're still hitting those state and local goals as well. So I just wanted to make a quick presentation to update you on what we've done in the past and where we're looking in the future. And I will take any questions or feedback you have at this time. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Madam Clerk, are there questions from the sign up from the public?
No, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let me bring this back to the board. I see Board Member Harris's hand up here.
Yeah, Chair, I'm sorry that I missed the rebate program. I really wanted to get the electric lawnmower, but you know, it was a pilot, and I think really a good one, because lawn equipment is a very significant source of pollution and irritation, you know, especially you know, when we're talking about leaf blowers, which, you know, I'm pretty involved in that scenario too. But thank you for doing the pilot program, and I'll keep my eyes open for any furtherance of it because I really want to get an electric lawnmower. Thanks, Chair.
No, yeah, I switched out to an electric lawnmower, and it's surprising how many people have commented how quiet it is. One charge, I can do both my front and backyard. But good. Let me. Any other questions from the board here? If not, I see no hands. Let me bring this, Madam Clerk, to the next item on the agenda.
Item number 5, permitting and compliance tracking during the pandemic, and have Amy Roberts to give a presentation.
Good morning, Chair Guerra and Board of Directors. Amy Roberts, Division Manager of the Stationary Source Division here at the district. Today, I'm going to provide you with a summary of some data we closely tracked during the past 2 years. This served as potential indicators of pandemic-associated impacts to businesses and our stationary source programs. Next slide, please. So when the pandemic began in spring of 2020, and as we started to understand the significant economic consequences that could come from it, the district began focusing attention to track certain metrics that could help gauge those impacts to district permitted businesses, companies that we regulate, and other district compliance programs. So specifically, we tracked 3 main areas. We looked at new permit applications being received. We looked at total numbers of active permits, and we looked at the number of asbestos projects being reviewed and compared those numbers on a monthly basis to previous year's data trends. So we did this on a regular review basis, and we wanted this review to allow us to see downturns in business activity that could then lead to budgetary shortfalls and changes in our workload demands or priorities and how we might need to change those for our programs. Next slide, please. So before I get into the numbers specifically, let me just take an opportunity to talk to you a little bit more about our permitting and compliance programs, really just to emphasize their importance in our public health mission. The district's permitting and compliance programs are truly foundational to our air quality control, dating back to the very inception of local air districts. So without firm commitments to enforce the air quality rules through the issuance of air quality permits and our on-the-ground enforcement of those rules and permit conditions, improvements to air quality really could be stifled. So through the district's permit program, for example, we have sources of air pollution that must install the cleanest technology available. It's this ongoing incremental improvement to air quality controls and operational equipment that really does help the region get closer and closer to our air quality goals. Then you have our compliance and our enforcement programs, which are central to making sure that the rules being adopted and the permits our engineers are issuing are not just pieces of paper. Our team of air quality inspectors are in the field. They're making sure that those requirements are actually being complied with, that there are real emission reductions being achieved. So very importantly, our compliance team is also in the field investigating public complaints. You've probably heard before, we receive a lot of complaints on an annual basis, and that job duty can have a direct benefit and an impact on the quality of life of our community members when we come across those pollution issues and we're able to help mitigate them. So also, I wanted to touch on our asbestos enforcement program. This also has a key role in reducing exposure to a known carcinogen with really no safe exposure level. So breathing in asbestos fibers can cause serious long-term health issues to workers, to others that might be exposed to that asbestos exposure during any kind of building renovation or demolition. So next slide, please, and we'll get into the numbers. All right, so while on a day-to-day basis, we focus on the air quality benefits that we achieve from our permitting and compliance programs, we also acknowledge that since upwards of 40% of our general fund revenue comes from various permit fees, the district's budget could really be impacted where there are disruptions or changes to economic conditions. So we knew it was imperative for us to go ahead and track the permitting and compliance data from a fiscal standpoint and gauge if general fund revenues were going to be impacted during the pandemic these past 2 years. Next slide, please. All right, so the first one that we were looking at were new applications. And what did we actually see during the previous 2 years? So this number, it basically represents new businesses that are either coming online or businesses that need to make a modification to their business process. Maybe they need to add new equipment or the like. This is therefore has some correlation to overall business activity in Sacramento. And thus it was a metric that we thought could help us foreshadow and track the economic ups and downs. As you can see, from the previous average of over about 300 new applications we would receive on an annual basis, we saw an almost 20% drop in just that first year of the pandemic. Last year, the number has started to rebound, thankfully, and we hope that we'll achieve more normal levels in the upcoming years. Next slide, please. All right, so on total air quality permits, this is another measure. It reflects basically how many entities out there have an air quality permit with us and are actively paying fees. As the graph shows, we really didn't see a large number of permit holders cancel their permits during the past 2 years compared to historical levels. In fact, in 2020-21, you can see there were slightly more overall permits on the books than on average in the 2017-2019 timeframe. So from this, we can deduce that while nobody will have any doubt or say otherwise that businesses really struggled, the businesses we permit were by and large able to maintain their air quality permits and ride through the economic storm, at least from that front. And from a budgetary perspective, we did see about a 5% drop in permit revenue fee. And this was mostly due to our board decision, to delay the full fee increase in 2020 and 2021, and our other actions to help our impacted businesses during this time. We waived late fees, we established payment plans for struggling businesses. Next slide, please. And lastly, this metric I'll share with you relates to the asbestos projects that our team reviewed for compliance. Here you can see the largest drop. In the past 2 years, there was about a 25 to 30% decrease in the renovations and demolitions, those projects being performed by businesses in the county compared to previous 3-year average. This metric is a pretty clear indicator that businesses were having to make some tough financial choices to not expand, not move into a new location, or to start a new business. And obviously it was a time of cinching the belt and not making new investments in business growth. Next slide, please. So just in summary, we didn't experience a drastic decline in the number of permits that we thought could have happened during the past couple of years. The business sector that received air quality permits from the district, they didn't cancel them en masse. And obviously that was a positive sign for those businesses, but also for the bottom line of the air district overall. However, we look at other business sectors, in particular, as I mentioned, those businesses that have to pull back from investments and renovating a space or rebuilding or reconstructing a new location. There is a definite decline, with the recovery timeline appearing to be a more gradual one than the other areas. Lastly, let me underscore the main reasons we kept track of these numbers. They were key for us to evaluate the economic health of our region, the health of our districts and its finances, but very importantly, these programs really do serve our communities. And we need to keep a close eye on what is happening in our permitting and compliance programs. They're really vital district responsibilities that directly impact our region's workforce and the public health of our communities. They serve a purpose, our air quality agency, by making sure that businesses are putting on the latest and greatest technology, reducing air pollution to the greatest extent possible. And again, we need to have the on-the-ground enforcement of those permits and rules and a good team available to respond to those complaints so they can be properly and promptly investigated and addressed. So here I've only given you a small overview of the metrics and some of, touched a little bit on our different programs, but in the future, we'll definitely be coming back to you with additional information on our permitting and asbestos programs and looking at our fee structures. As I just reiterated, these programs are vital and important to public health, and we really want to ensure that we're doing everything that we can to protect our residents and our employees from harmful pollutants. So that's it for my presentation, but I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Great, thank you very much, Amy. Let me bring this back to the board. And while board members are thinking of their questions, Madam Clerk, do we have anyone signed up to speak?
No, Chair, we do not.
The only thing I'll indicate, I think that these numbers always give us, as on our local councils, and are just a glimpse, a snapshot of kind of the how our economic growth is happening. And the good thing is we didn't see a slide back. The number of permits that are being pulled are still pretty consistent. So we're seeing some development. Obviously, I think for those who have older buildings and have to pull the asbestos for expansion, we clearly saw a challenge in that. So Amy, thanks for that. But again, any questions from the board here? If not, thank you very much for that presentation. Madam Clerk, I know we've got, I think this is our last item on the agenda for today.
That is correct. That was the last item on the discussion calendar.
On the discussion calendar. Perfect. Well, Madam Clerk, we'll go on to our next item here, which is, I think, comments from the public.
Correct. We do not have any public comment at this time.
Perfect. Any questions or comments from the board or AB 1, 2, 3, 4 reports?
Yeah, just real quick.
Chair. Yes, go ahead, Brett.
First off, I want to compliment the chair on his beautiful haircut. He cleans up very nicely. Post-COVID, it looks sharp. I just wanted to piggyback on comments made earlier by Council members Harris and Terry for the Yosemite conference. It was a pleasure seeing them up there and some staff also, I believe. A very good conference and a lot of stuff on obviously climate and some of it on the effects of methane and air quality and even housing and how that all plays into it. So some very good stuff. But to not sound like a broken wheel, hydrogen. It was very, very emphasized and it looks exciting. And I hope that we will move in that kind of direction because I do have a concern on electric and what that means as we try to electrify everything in the world and being able to do that. So very good stuff on that. I wanted to take a moment also to give a shout out to the former Honorable Steve Hansen, who put on what I believe to be one of the most realistic presentations regarding homelessness and what we need to really do about that. He is missed on this board, and it was a pleasure to get to hear him speak and to hear him provide such a realistic presentation. That's about it. And the only other thing I would piggyback all that on is Jaime's presentation. Felt like it was almost an overview of the conference because it really touched on I think a lot of what the conference was about. I really liked that. The only concern I had was that he said we want to go fast. And one of the things that the conference really emphasized is that there is a lot of funding out there, and it seems to be a lot of untapped funding. And so I just would say maybe we tap the brakes a little bit in that regard sometimes to make sure that we're not missing some funding that we could then have our funding still available to use for other things. And that was about it. And then the final thing is on Dr. Ayala mentioned something regarding not picking the winners and losers or however you want to put it regarding which direction we should be going for energy. And so I think that's very, very important. I think sometimes resistance is found in the arena of just ending all fossil fuels also. And so I think people would be more accepting of things as we just
Board Member Daniels, I think we lost you briefly. Well, as Board Member Daniels comes back, I think we got the gist of it is a presentation. I probably will concur with a big chunk of those, particularly I think the good work our former chair Steve Hansen had here. While he comes back here, Board Member Vandenberg, yes.
Yes, thank you. I have a couple of people that would be interested in watching this. Could you please, I'm on my mobile, so could you please email me the information on Channel 14, time and date, please?
Yes.
Thank you. And I wasn't trying to pick winners and losers in energy industries. I realize there's a niche for everything. But I would say this in a general sense, and this goes for a lot of things that the government does. Working in the industry that I do, often the government, with all the right intentions, comes off as the adversary to industries because we often, and I include myself in that, we often use the stick instead of the carrot. So please keep that in mind. You know, it's kind of like Tesla. People want to own a Tesla because it's a nice, fast car and it's electric. So those are all wins. You know, when you advertise that I save $300 in my bills because I drive electric, that's something that people want to look into instead of saying, I'm going to take your car away from you, you know? So that's just a general all around point I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Vandenberg. And I do believe the ingenuity of our staff have used the incentive model very much more. We do have we're an authority that we do have the stick. And when we need to do it, we have a very good attorney that uses that stick very well. But for the most part, I think the success with this agency is that we've looked at incentives and ways to do that. And I hope that we continue to look at those incentives to drive and change consumer demand and interest. So
yeah,
with that,
I'm not trying to say people shouldn't comply, but I think you also understand my point. Thank you, though.
Yes, no, of course. I agree with your point there. I think you get more compliance by people seeing, and seeing a benefit to themselves. Well, thank you very much. I want to remind folks that for those that are on the budget committee, we have a budget committee hearing after this. If there are no other questions or comments from the board, I want to thank everyone for their time. It is 10:02. And I thought this was a very thoughtful and robust discussion today. And we used our hour here wisely. I know we're blocked sometimes for 2 hours, but I'm glad we could put it in an hour. So thank you everyone for being judicious. And Madam Clerk, do we adjourn this Zoom and then open another one up, or do we stay on this Zoom?
We can adjourn this meeting and then go ahead and stay on this Zoom.
Okay, very good. So members of the Budget Committee, I'm going to adjourn this meeting of the Air Quality Management District officially at 10:03 a.m., March 24th, 2022. And then as people log off, we will reconvene as the Committee on Budget and Finance. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate for being here today.
Thank you.
And Madam Clerk, just for maybe some forgot who's on the committee, do you mind stating the name so that they stay on?
Give me 1 second.